How do you personally, as a teacher, address difficult behavior? So what is your strategy? And do you think, is it critical to engage parents in this process? So what is your approach?
Oh, extremely. I think in these situations, whenever education goes deep with people, when some sort of inappropriate behavior is observed at school, it is very important to have teachers and parents on the same page. When the important message for parents is that when a teacher calls and says, we had an incident or a problem or something came up or bad language or bad behavior or bullying, it's very important for the parent to be open-minded. And I know that our children are our treasure, and they are, but we have to give a moment of doubt that maybe my child actually has said or done something a little bit, and just come with open heart, with compassion, to start a conversation. It's very important that the parent helps us to stop this spot, correct, and stop this behavior so it wouldn't repeat. To teach compassion. We do a lot at school, like these movies like anti-bullying. Swedish, by the way, have excellent commercials. It was, for instance, in Sweden, it's terrible to have orange hair. It's terrible to be, ginger. They call it strawberry blonde over there. So it's terrible to be strawberry blonde. And the commercial was it's like 1 minute clip that we used to show almost every day to the entire school. It would be this, child with, orange hair comes to school, and the older boys are like, oh, you're like a loser, push him a little bit, or trip his bike. And then it goes on and on and on. And in the background, you can see the cool kids sitting and watching. And it shows that it has been happening for a couple of days. And then one day, these gangster kids or whatever, they come to school and they try to push this kid with orange hair. And suddenly they look in the background and the cool kids are sitting and they all had colored their hair orange. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they walk away. And this child with orange hair, he turns back to look, into the background, and he can see that they just do nothing, just give him an eye, we got you, we're behind you. And the last frame is when the child turns to the camera and smiles because he's not alone. And it's a beautiful message of compassion. In Lighthouse in general, the message is that if you spot bad behavior, we teach this from reception years. When somebody says something unkind to you, it takes years to train. But we say you say, don't talk to me anymore, and walk away. Walk away and tell the teacher. This is we go over this and over this and over this. Teacher, but why? But he pushed me. I want to push him back. I said, but if you pushed him, then you both pushed each other. Then there's then what can I do for you? I say, but if he pushed you and you say, stop that, and you walk away, then we have a situation, right? Because somebody pushed you. And this is kind of, so I try to teach them that we need to have conversation. I have to say, I'm sorry. You have to say, why did you push me? I wanted something. So what is the appropriate way to want something? What do we do when we want something? We say, can I have it, please? I ask politely. So we go over this and over this. It's very important for the parent whose child is misbehaving to have this conversation, to watch, some movies, something compassion inspiring. And again, if all above fails, talking to the teachers and facilitators, teachers' classroom, hours of compassion, if that all fail, go see a specialist before the problem escalates to uncontrollable, degree. Go talk to a specialist.
And sometimes it's a tricky question, but of course, I think not many parents expect that their child would bully someone, right? Yeah. But sometimes it happens. It just happens. It's life. What would you recommend or advise, or how would you start the conversation with the parents whose child sort of misbehaved? What would be your first approach to them?
It should start something would create a very non-threatening environment for the parent, because they're children. They have personalities of their own, and it's not parents' fault, and it's not their failure that the child has done or said something unkind. Children are learning to control their emotions. They're learning to control their anger, frustration, being upset. and they don't always succeed to express in appropriate ways. It's us as adults, right? We have skills. I can walk away. I can say, "Don't talk to me." I can,
And we fail sometimes.
Yeah, right. And we still fail, and we still yell sometimes
Yeah.
at each other, right? As parents and as colleagues and as friends. So to expect a child to always be 100% perfect is just unrealistic. But for the parent, it's important to know that they're not failing. There's nothing wrong with their child. There's nothing wrong with them. We're just going to look at the problem. We're going to ask the whys. We're going to get down to the core of the problem, and we're going to try to stop that behavior at the root, where it began. So just what we teachers expect, just to be open-minded, open-hearted, that nobody's judging you. Nobody is like, nobody's saying that you failed or, this horrible parenting has resulted in this. No, you're doing excellent job. Just the child had a difficult day, difficult moment.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now that, in Lighthouse, this is the case, but there are other schools, other teachers, other situations when parents potentially meet the judgment from the school that your child is doing something wrong and they felt judged, let's say. But still, if they want to take some actions on their own with their child to help him or her correct the behavior, what the first couple of steps probably they should take to address this?
I would say, like I mentioned, as adults, we have the skills to deal with this frustrating or upsetting or angering behavior. We should work on equipping children with that set of skills. So you're upset. You want to punch him in the face. You can't, right? I mean, this is not appropriate. We agree. The child says, I agree. What can you do? So you're upset. You're so upset. You're boiling inside. That moment, and you ask the child to imagine that moment when you're super, super upset. What can you do so that you don't punch somebody in the face, right? So what are the other things? You know what I mean? Try to show the child the other possibilities. Breathe in, walk away. Just don't say anything. Just turn around and walk away and say, we're no longer friends. Walk away, right? Teach this to contain, because, in the heat of the moment, many unkind things can be said.
Yeah.
But if you just take a moment to let it go, pass you, and then you react later, it's going to be a very different outcome, right? Because you don't have this urge. So just to basically teaching your children to control the urges of being unkind, being violent, this. And again, if the child is violent at home, of course, seek help, because it might come out of hand. You might think that you're doing all the ways, but if it's not working, just ask for help. It's, it's no shame in